Guys, we are a couple days away from the NFL draft, and I am just excited. And if you're excited too, I'm going to ask you to go down there and hit that subscribe button. We're going to be your one-stop shop for all Vikings content around the NFL draft. Make sure you don't miss a thing. Join me throughout the entire draft weekend. I can't wait to be breaking down every single pick with you guys for the Minnesota Vikings. Go down there, subscribe now, and plus, it's 100% free. Do it, subscribe, stay in the loop. Welcome to the Vikings Now. I'm your host for today's show, Patrick Siepman. And on today's show, we're going to be discussing 5 players that I believe the Minnesota Vikings could trade away in the 2023 NFL draft. I think there's been a lot of trade rumors around this Minnesota Vikings team. So I got 4 names I'm going to be breaking down with you guys during today's video. And let's start it off with the star running back, Dalvin Cook, who comes in at number 1 on my list. So we're going to be doing this 1 through 4, but Dalvin Cook is the number 1 trade candidate for the Minnesota Vikings. I decided to hop in the lab, just decided to cook up a little trade idea for the Minnesota Vikings here. I think if a trade were going to go down on draft day, it could possibly be for a 3rd or a 4th round pick. But I think the Baltimore Ravens, they could call you on draft day on day 2 and suggest a trade to Kwesi Adofo-Mensah of maybe a 3rd round pick, the 86th overall pick in the 2023 NFL draft. Just a straight up trade for Dalvin Cook. Obviously, the Ravens do have a sort of need at that running back position, and they love to run the football. It looks like they're going to be bringing back Lamar Jackson. Why not try to go all in and get Lamar another piece and bring in the star running back from Minnesota? And plus, I think it would only cost him a 3rd round pick, because we all know Dalvin Cook's production over the past 4 seasons has taken a step back. The yards per carry since 2020 has gone down every single year. It started at 5.1 yards per carry, then went down to 4.7, and now this past season it was at 4.4. This hasn't been the same Dalvin Cook that we have seen in years past, but I do think he is a solid running back in the NFL, probably in that 8 to 15 range, and I think he could be a good piece for a team like the Baltimore Ravens, who may be trying to go all in and keep their quarterback happy there in Baltimore. Why not give him his buddy, get him a great running back next to him like a Dalvin Cook? And overall, I actually do expect Dalvin Cook to be gone by the start of next season. With the Vikings re-signing Alexander Mattison during 2023 NFL free agency, I think that was the final nail in the coffin for the Vikings moving on from a guy like Dalvin Cook. I just don't really think it makes too much sense. You'd be giving almost $20 million per year to the running back position, and our GM Kwesi is such an analytical-driven GM. I just don't really see him having that as an option. So I expect Dalvin to be gone. And honestly, I think if you could get a draft pick for Dalvin Cook, why not take it? If you could get a 3rd round pick, where the Vikings do have very limited draft capital in this upcoming year, the Vikings are actually 2nd to last in draft capital. If you can get a pick for Dalvin Cook, I say why not? I say you do take it. Maybe if it's not a 5th or a 6th or a 7th, but if you could get a 3rd or a 4th, I'd be all in. But I want to ask you guys this. This will be the pinned comment on today's video. What % chance is Dalvin Cook a Minnesota Viking next season? There's been a lot of speculation around Dalvin Cook, but I want to ask you guys this. What % chance do you think Dalvin Cook is on the Vikings roster next season? YouTube's going to throw you an ad break right now. Just sit back, let it play, go down there and answer today's pinned comment. What % chance you think Dalvin Cook is a Minnesota Viking? Number 2 on my list is edge rusher Danielle Hunter. Superstar edge rusher, actually. I'm a big fan of Danielle Hunter. What he's done for the Minnesota Vikings in his short career with them has been fantastic. Honestly, I think he's a top 7 edge talent in the NFL. It just always comes down to staying healthy for him. He has had 2 season-ending injuries with the Minnesota Vikings, but when he's on the field, man, he wreaks havoc. But the reason why I do think Danielle Hunter is a trade candidate is because I think he wants the bag. And this upcoming year, Danielle Hunter is only set to make $5 million. He signed an extension a couple years ago where it was 5 for $72 million, but the Vikings kept kind of pushing that money back, and now finally here it is. Here's the year where the Vikings kind of have to pay it up for Danielle, and it's only $5 million. So Hunter did not attend the start of voluntary offseason program like workouts for the Minnesota Vikings. Most people are speculating that it is because of that contract. He wants to be paid more. And frankly, I don't really blame him because if you look at his career numbers with the Vikings, he's one of the best Vikings edge rusher in history. I mean, he's up there with Jared Allen. He's up there with the purple people eaters, in my opinion. When Danielle Hunter is on the field and he is active and he is ready to go, he is one of the best edge rushers in the NFL. He was the fastest player that in NFL history to 50 sacks. He has 71 sacks on his career, 7 forced fumbles, 85 tackles for loss during his career with the Minnesota Vikings. And I think a big reason why the Vikings could look to move off a Danielle Hunter, even though he is unreal talented on the football field, it's because of the Vikings draft picks. 5 picks only for the Minnesota Vikings in this upcoming NFL draft. They got the 23rd overall pick, 87, 119, 159, and 211. Then we have 2 picks in the top 100. If the Vikings were to move off a guy like Danielle Hunter, I would expect it to be during the NFL draft because I do think you can work out a trade where maybe you get a second and a third, and the Vikings could have go from 2 picks in the top 100 to maybe 3 or 4. Keep your eyes out for Danielle Hunter being traded. I wouldn't do it unless you get a very, very good haul. Number 3 on my list for Vikings trade candidates is the other edge next to Danielle Hunter this past season, and that's Za'Darius Smith. Za'Darius this past year for the Vikings, he started off the season great. He was awesome for the Minnesota Vikings. But at the tail end of the season, we really saw him start to regress. There was reports about him maybe being injured. There's also reports about maybe the locker room sort of turning against him a little bit at the back half of the last season for the Minnesota Vikings because we really saw his numbers go down. But my overall take on especially Za'Darius Smith, and it's kind of similar to the first 2 guys we talked about in Dalvin Cook and Danielle Hunter, really any type of pick, even if it's a 5th, 6th round pick for Za'Darius Smith, I would probably take it. I do think with the Vikings signing Marcus Davenport during free agency, it was kind of another nail in the coffin type of move for Za'Darius's tenure with the Minnesota Vikings. Obviously, he only played for them last season, so I do think it would be easier for them to move off a guy like Za'Darius Smith compared to a Dalvin Cook or a Danielle Hunter. But here are the contract details for if Za'Darius Smith were to be traded. If you were to trade him before June 1st, you would actually save $12.1 million. If you would trade him post June 1st, you would save $13.8 million. I think that's significant because the Vikings are currently dead last in cap space in the NFL. So the Vikings right now, you're second to last in draft capital, and you're dead last in overall cap space in the NFL, and the roster really isn't completely complete. I think the Vikings could be making moves. But if you're comparing Danielle Hunter and Za'Darius Smith this past season, it was almost a polar opposite ends for those two. Danielle Hunter started off slow in the 2022 season, and he ended up getting up to 10.5 sacks. Za'Darius Smith, he was actually tied for the league in sacks after Week 8, and since Week 8, he was not the same player. He only finished with 10 sacks. I think these two, similar production last year, but if you're talking just the best player out of these two, I honestly think it's Danielle Hunter, and it's frankly not even close. But I'll throw you that question your guys' way. Pick one edge to keep for the Minnesota Vikings. If they are going to move off one of these two guys during the NFL draft, pick one of them to keep. Give me a 99 for Danielle Hunter or give me a 55 for Za'Darius Smith. If I was watching this video and this question was thrown my way, you know I'd be typing my 99s in the comments section. Then also for the NFL draft, we're going to be live on our main Chat Sports YouTube channel. It's going to be a great time. Make sure you guys come on over there and hang out with us. If you see this thumbnail on your YouTube recommended page, make sure you click on that and head over to Chat Sports TV. That's youtube.com/chatsportstv. Hang out with us. We'll be live for the entire NFL draft. Every single pick any team makes, we will be live. We will be covering it. Tom Downey does a great job over there. So make sure you guys check it out. If you guys see that thumbnail on your YouTube page, make sure you click on it and hang out with us. Again, go to youtube.com/chatsportstv. The fourth trade candidate I have for the Minnesota Vikings is quarterback Kirk Cousins. Yes, quarterback Kirk Cousins. We got to talk about it because Kirk Cousins was, again, connected to the San Francisco 49ers. And will the Kirk to San Francisco finally happen? This happens every single year. It's a Mike Florio report where he says Kyle Shanahan, there was chatter about the Vikings potentially trading for Kirk Cousins at the NFL scouting combine. And this, again, happens every year. Will this be the final year this will be the year that it finally happens? The Vikings, if they were going to move off of Kirk Cousins, they would save $10 million after June 1st. But if they do trade him before June 1st, I will mention the Vikings would have to eat $38 million in dead cap. Pretty much that means the Vikings are not going to trade Kirk Cousins before June 1st. So this would be almost a post NFL draft trade. And then Mike Florio also mentioned the 49ers in that conversation. But stats-wise for Kirk Cousins, again, he's one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. If we're talking stats, just stats, over 65% completion percentage all the past 4 years. He's always had a great touchdown to interception ratio. I think Kirk Cousins still has a good amount left in the tank, but could a Kirk the San Francisco trade be inevitable at this point? I am not sure. I do know the San Francisco 49ers do have 3 third-round picks. I believe it's 99, 101, and 102. So could they package maybe a couple third-round picks and Trey Lance and move on from Trey Lance and go get yourself a Kirk Cousins? I don't know, because I also know 49ers, they go get Kirk Cousins. They would be the overwhelming favorite in the NFC, and I think they would honestly be the favorite to win the Super Bowl overall. But predict it in the comments section. How many more years will Kirk be QB1 for the Minnesota Vikings? A lot of us just assume 1 year. He's got 1 more year left on his contract, and then I do expect the Vikings to move on from Kirk Cousins. But let me know. If you guys think Kirk Cousins is going to be the quarterback for the Vikings 2, 3, 4 more years, who knows? Let me know down in the comments section. Guys, I'm excited for the NFL draft. This is one of the best weekends of the year. I'm excited to see what the Vikings take. Make sure you guys subscribe. Stay in the loop. We'll have you covered. And we'll see you guys next time. Let's go Vikes.